aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. There was no action taken in executive session. First item we have is 9A, motion to request legal department assess potential liability of permitting human occupied watercraft at Pinewood Lakes. Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the Department of Natural Resources guidelines for watercraft on ponds.
Okay, that's the motion. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor: Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
Any opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Next item is the Elmer Bode drainage. Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ask staff to legally enforce an easement as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Got a motion on the table. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor: Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
Any opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Next. Next item we have is item C, 1033, Law Enforcement Support Office Program, litigation update. Mr. Pierce.
I move that we adopt the recommendation of the legal department as now stated by our attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Second. Yes, properly seconded by Mr. Jeter.
Thank you. At this time, I'll read kind of a recap of the executive session discussion on this matter. We received a briefing on the National Defense Authorization Act 1033 Law Enforcement Support Office Program administered by the U.S. Department of Defense, and a lawsuit the Richland County Sheriff is a party to in federal court in Illinois involving some property available to law enforcement agencies through that program. The case name is Win-Win Aviation versus Richland County, South Carolina Sheriff's Department et al. No action was taken. Richland County is not a party to the lawsuit just mentioned, and County Council takes no position on the possible settlement of that case, whether it represents an appropriate resolution of the matter or on the facts and circumstances of that lawsuit. Richland County is not paying the legal fees for the sheriff or for any party involved in this lawsuit, nor has it been asked to do so. Richland County is not providing a legal defense to any parties in this case, nor has it been asked to do so. Richland County is not acquiring title to any property in connection with this case, nor has it been asked to acquire any property. The sheriff has requested the county council approve the expenditure of funds held on deposit for the sheriff's department's benefit pursuant to SC Code annotated section 4453-520 forfeitures. These are monies law enforcement agencies such as the RCSD take custody of through their law enforcement activities such as drug seizures and the like. The statute for that 4453-530G provides in relevant part that all forfeited monies and proceeds from the sale of forfeited property must be retained by the governing body of the local law enforcement agency or prosecution agency and deposited in a separate special account in the name of each appropriate agency. These accounts may be drawn on and used only by the law enforcement agency or prosecution agency for which the account was established. These accounts must not be used to supplant operating funds in the current or future budgets. Expenditures from these accounts for an item that would be a recurring expense must be approved by the governing body before purchase. As the requested purchase is not a recurring expense, under this state law section, there is no requirement for the county governing body to approve this expenditure. Section 4453-530I provides an expenditure from these accounts must be made in accordance with the established procurement procedures of the jurisdiction where the account is established. Richland County Code of Ordinances Section 2593, Contract Authority, provides in part, purchases in excess of $30,000 shall be reviewed and approved by the County Council prior to acceptance. And I would amend that I believe that amount has been raised to $100,000, but it's the same code section. The sheriff is requesting to use seized funds to purchase a 2013 Cessna 206 TC outfitted with extensive law enforcement avionics. The sheriff advises that fixed-wing aircraft and avionics have been supporting narcotics, criminal interdiction, and locating missing persons, murder suspects, and seizing drugs and money successfully for the last 2 years at no equipment cost to the county. And incidentally, during the past week or so with the flood, this type of aircraft likely would have been useful in search and rescue as well. He further advises that RCSD continues to find innovative ways to reduce crime and capture criminals. Over the last 2 years, the Sheriff's Department has used the Cessna aircraft that has led to countless drug seizures and arrests of murder, assault, and fugitives from justice. The use of this aircraft has assisted state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies in making the streets of Richland County safer. The contract the sheriff intends to enter into is to purchase a Cessna 206 for $808,000. Richland County Sheriff's Department would make a $108,000 down payment on October 1, 2015, as adjusted by events to get this before County Council, and pay off the plane over 7 years using seizure funds accessed through the sheriff's work on federal task forces and local crime suppression efforts. County Council is being asked to approve the expenditure of these funds that the sheriff deems to be in the best interest of his office in the furtherance of his law enforcement mission. Other than the briefing you council received and the ministerial release of funds that only the sheriff may use under the state law in furtherance of those law enforcement activities authorized by the forfeiture statutes, Richland County has no role in this matter. All questions about the lawsuit, the 1033 program, the expenditure of forfeiture funds, or any other aspect of this matter should be directed to the sheriff. With this background and understanding council's limited role in the approval process for the use of forfeiture funds as provided for under state law, I, the moving council member, move to approve the Sheriff's Department use of up to $808,000 in furtherance of law enforcement activities as described in the state of South Carolina's forfeiture statute.
Longest motion we've ever had.
Get Kevin by himself.
All right. You heard the motion.
Stay after the.
It's been properly second. Discussion. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Farah, you indicated that there's a payment plan in place of X dollars per year for a certain number of years. What happens if that payment plan falls short and it's not paid off in that number of years because the funds aren't available?
Yes, Mr. Malinowski, I just confirmed after the executive session, but prior to announcing the motion, that money is available to make the initial payment as well as some additional payments, and there is also money in the process that would be well in excess of the purchase amount. My understanding is in excess of $1 million. That would be forfeiture assets that are in the pipeline to be not a deposit with the county as of this time, but through the process of having those funds come to the county. Beyond that, if we do have Major Cowan, if you'd like to speak on that, but that's the intent of council's motion would be to approve the release of those funds to the extent they are available, and that's the authority that you're extending.
The funding actually is there.
The fund. My understanding
Is or will be.
My understanding is the funding will be there before the next payment is due.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
We have no responsibility. We're just approving this, and the Sheriff Department will handle whatever needs to be handled to move forward with what he's doing, right?
Yes, Mr. Jackson, that is correct. Under the state law, the county governing body simply holds this amount of money, these type of funds, for the benefit of either law enforcement or the prosecution agency, and simply would need to sign off on their use once you hit the $100,000 threshold under the procurement standards. But this is basically supporting the sheriff's request to use the funds from that account for his law enforcement activities.
Thanks. I just wanted that clarified.
That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's a great motion,
All
Mr.
right, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion? Ms. Dixon.
I'm not questioning. I'm ready for the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston,
didn't raise my
Dicker.
hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rush. In favor, Dixon, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Jeter.
Any opposed? Like sign.
Opposed, Malinowski, Rush, Manning.
That motion carries. Next we have item 9D,
Thank you.
flood and disaster. Oh, no, we're not taking that up. Okay. There's no motion for that, right?
You had to move forward with the recommendation that was discussed in the back.
The administrator's going to review it and bring back the recommendations is what we said.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the motion?
It's motion, Mr. Chairman.
Huh?
I need to
Mr. Pierce.
reconsider that last vote.
Got a motion for reconsideration,
Second.
properly second. All in favor of reconsideration signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion fails.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have, what's the motion? What's the motion? Mr. Washington?
The motion to move to approve what was discussed in executive session for the administrator to bring back to council by next week.
A recommendation?
Recommendation.
Okay. Got a motion, that's the motion on the table, it's been properly second, discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is that all the executive session? Now we have the motion period, to have remove all these. That will go to 41A is DNS. A resolution establishing October 25th through 31st, 2015, the End Child Hunger Week. Chair entertain a unanimous consent. Got a motion, it's properly second. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have create a new CASA co-worker position. That will go to A&F. Item 41D, A&F.
Page.
41E.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
On the 41D, could I add my name to this, Mr. Rose?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Dickerson. All right, that goes to A&F. 41E goes to A&F. Move for a resolution honoring the life and heroism of the.
Ask for unanimous consent.
That's the motion. It's been properly second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Mr. Chair, can I reconsider that one, please?
Which one?
The F. Move to reconsider. Do we get to reconsider a resolution? No, you're good. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rose.
Thank you.
Item 41G, ordinance review. And
Yeah, that's in.
Mr. Washington, that's DNS.
Which one?
H.
H or G?
No,
H.
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 What happened to G?
G goes to ordinance review.
Oh, okay.
DNS for H, I, A, and F. And do we have more? For study, that goes to DNS.
Mr. Chair, you have the two motions that were added by Mr. Washington before we get to the second
That's what I got.
page.
I want to go back to H.
To where?
H.
H.
Because time says,
H.
It's a motion to direct the administrator to perform a flood map impact study. And that's what I mean by it being routed to committee. We can go ahead and direct the administrator to move forward on this right now.
what's the difference between this one and this one? This item 1. Is there a difference?
Yeah, she took the first couple of paragraphs, I believe.
Okay, so those are the same.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
So we don't do one on this?
No,
page?
one is actually H.
All right, so that goes directly to the administrator?
Yes. Because the problem is, we're in the midst of, we have these assessors out there assessing the
Yeah,
flood.
two different times.
There's data that needs to be captured as soon as possible. And if we can, we can bring it back to us next meeting
Yeah.
and see if they can capture it, but we need to move fast to get this data because we got a lot of choke points out there. We got areas that, we're gonna have to clean out ditches and there's gonna be a lot of things that we need to do. Even the flood line, you gotta get the flood line just now because it'll be disqualified if we try to go after federal funding in some aspects.
Okay, Mr. Livingston and Mr. Pierce.
There's a lot of specific directives to the administrator in this particular statement. And I'm not an expert in what all needs to be done, and I don't know who is whatever, but I'd like to kind of know what the gist of what we're trying to accomplish and just tell the administrator to figure that out and go get it accomplished for us.
I know.
As opposed to giving him specific detailed things to do.
Say that again?
You know, what we want to accomplish here, and let's just, because I don't know whether the way you mentioned here is the way you do it or not do it or whatever, but just simply say, you know, here's what we need to accomplish. So bring that back to us and figure it out for us or something.
Well, see, the point I made it so specific because there are data points that is very critical to this county that we got to really capture. Because
I don't disagree with that, but I just think, you know, we pay staff to figure out how to do that for us.
How do you know you can't capture it later?
Yeah.
Yes. H and 1 on the other page is the same one. Mr. McDaniel.
May I, Mr. Jackson, if you know, Mr. Washington, are you intending for H and 1 to be combined because they were received at 2 different times? So
Yeah,
okay.
that's the same thing.
Okay, so you do want them to now work together. Okay.
So if it goes in committee, it'll go
I'm trying to avoid,
on this committee?
Good administrator.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask a question, Mr. Washington. I understand that, but it's still a gathering of information. So will it go on this month's committee? Will it be prepared for this month's committee? I'm asking.
Mr. Chairman, it can be and could be. This information is something that we've already discussed in large part
Okay.
with
Your mic is not working really good. Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Maybe I need a
Okay.
hearing aid.
No, I think it was not working. It cuts out sometimes. But this is a lot of this information is information that we have already discussed with Tetra Tech, which is the firm that we hired to do the monitoring for the storm debris situation. So they can do some of this. They are recommending, I think, avenues to get some of this done. So I think we can pursue this without it having to go through committee.
All right.
Or a lengthy legislative process. And let me defer.
You want to either correct me or tell me I'm wrong, or you want to.
Mr. Harley has been discussing this with Tetra Tech for the last few days.
I think Mr. McDonald is correct. We need to consult further with them and then, of course, pull our people in to make sure we're on the right path. But I think it's something we can accomplish with the group that we've already engaged.
I got you.
Just
You still have the floor.
Having the floor.
Yeah.
You know, now when I read this over again, the main sense of this to me is where it says county administrator to perform a flood map impact study immediately to get some outcomes. That's all we need. I think we need the county administrator to do, and so if we just stick with saying we need a quick, we need flood map impact studies and so forth, as opposed to putting a specific date periods and times like that, as soon as they can get it back to us or whatever. Yes, yeah. But I would agree about, the main point here is the flood map impact study meeting. That's the main point you're looking at, isn't it?
No, sir. It's all encompassing. The motion is to grab data because the data is going to be very critical. I'm going to continue to say this to this county going forward with what we're planning to do. I asked for a hydrology study 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I asked for that hydrology study because I wanted to look at the topography of the community. We're not there yet. But there's data that's what we can put into the modeling that we got to capture. That's why I put the specificity in there. And it's very important for us to capture that. And the consultants know. They know exactly the data we need to get.
That's right.
So that's why I did put this in here like this.
And I have shared, I don't know if Mr. I'm sorry.
You've discussed this with the consultant?
Yes.
I've shared Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Washington information with the consultants, and we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk in depth about it yet.
Yes, and I think
I got you, Mr.
Just to kind of boil it down, I think that what we're trying to accomplish here is, and Mr. Washington's correct, we need data on what the storm and what the flood did to our community. Now, that data is going to be collected in a lot of different ways. It's going to be collected by our assessors who are out assessing the buildings. It's going to be collected by our engineers and road personnel who are assessing the roads. So it's going to come in from a lot of different sources and in a lot of different ways. But the point is, we'll bring all that together, and we'll do that anyway. That's part of the whole assessment review, determine where we are process. So that a lot of that, again, I think is underway. We have asked for the expertise of Tetra Tech because they have experience in this to guide us through, make sure we're getting and collecting what we need. But I think the idea is simply to get all the data that we can. And I agree with Mr. Washington that is exactly what we need to do and are doing.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dickerson, you still wanted to?
Yeah, I
speak?
just want, I think he just explained what I was trying to get to, is once you get data from different sources, you will compile that data, making an assessment, and then we'll be able to know exactly where we are using the firm. Is that correct?
Yes.
To help you all compile that data, then give us an updated or probably an accurate report, better accurate report.
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Pierce?
I think if you would look and step back and see what is being recorded already by countless numbers of people.
Right.
If you will, I wish y'all could have all been in the meeting that we went to with the FEMA folks, or the people that the state had contracted, and hear what they stressed. They stressed exactly what you're saying, Mr. Washington, about the need to capture data, documentation, get as much as you can. I think once all that is captured, though, and I know GIS is working on this as well, but at some point, I think we're going to probably need, after all the smoke is cleared, we have this mass of data, and we're going to need somebody to tell us what it means.
Right. And my concern, Mr. Chair, my concern is, bless you, those choke points that we've not yet to clear up, because all those tributaries that feed into the Congaree and the Wateree, those choke points were the key that really impacted the communities. And to those dams, I mean, if you got these small pipes, and they should have been designed to be larger, I mean, those are the data points we gotta get, because if we're gonna do something in the community to relieve the pressure, that's the data we need to have.
All right. Mr. Jackson?
For the record, has my clarification 10 minutes ago, we could have avoided this. The motion was specific, so there's no misunderstanding. As simple as that. And to go to the administrator so he knows what to do and move it forward instead of going to a committee.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank
It
you.
goes to the administrator.
I agree with that too now.
All right. Do we need a motion to direct you to do that? We don't need a motion. Do we need a motion for that? All right.
Yeah, I second the motion.
All right, it's been properly second. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Motion to reconsider.
Second.
It's been properly second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion fails. All right. Motion for the Guard to rebuild the county roads through innovative RRT projects after they get off state active duty. Can you explain what that means, Mr. Jackson?
The National Guard has a team that rebuild roads, especially in times of disaster. And what we'd like to do, because of this situation, Richland County is qualified, and they can use their team to rebuild, especially a lot of the dirt roads we have. So we can utilize the National Guard to do it. They're willing and ready to do it.
All right, they're
We just have
using
to
them.
request it.
I think they're using them now. Mr. Pierce.
Mr. McDonald, would you please explain what happened with that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Pierce, I
What
was
he's
talking
asking,
against my
the National Guard, why the National Guard can't do what he just wants them to do?
As far as rebuilding the roads or? Yeah, well, they are in part
Not the bridge,
rebuilding
no, the road.
county road. They can't work on state roads. We had looked at getting things like,
Don't just do county roads?
Yeah, it's just county
Yes.
dirt roads.
and we are utilizing them for county roads.
He said county roads.
Yes, that is underway now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, they squashed us on the state roads, that's what I'm saying. We
Yeah,
offered to do
yeah.
state roads and they won't let us do it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I said county.
Which I think,
Today with our first county road. They are already started today.
Okay.
Which road?
White House Road. White House. That's the one provides access to the East Richland sewers septic, a treatment plant which is already damaged heavily.
yeah, give it DNA.
We've already gave them about 8 roads, and then there's another 10 on its way.
All right. Thank you. All right, that will go to DNS. Next item we have is Penny, we'll send that to the Penny Ad Hoc Committee. And item 4
Proclamation.
is a proclamation or a resolution?
You don't have to get permission for
Yeah.
a proclamation.
Of a resolution.
Resolution?
Unanimous consent.
All right. That's the motion for unanimous consent for the resolution. It's been properly second.
Second.
It's been properly second. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is that all the motions? What's another?
Additional motions from Mr. Washington. He asked for unanimous consent for a resolution honoring those that lost their life at Lower Richland 3. And then he asked for a motion.
Okay, let's do that one first.
Okay.
Let's do that one first. Unanimous consent for those, can you state the motion again?
Yes, Mr. Washington asked for unanimous consent for a resolution honoring those that lost their life in Lower Richland during the flood recovery efforts.
Okay. That's the motion.
Excuse me, just Lower Richland or everybody?
Anywhere.
They talk about the fire.
You know George was saying that.
You want a specific one for Lower Richland, Mr. Washington?
He talked about the
Which one?
the crew lost their lives in Lower Richland.
No, but he said everybody.
Are you
Is it
saying
just for the people that,
Right, he named 3 individuals, yes, sir.
who are they- Oh, we can name the 3? That's in the Lower
the
Richland
people who
area?
work with the railroad company who lost their life, and the sheriff was the sheriff deputy.
Okay. All right,
Who
that's,
lost his life in Lower
that's the motion for unanimous consent. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. The next one is McDaniel.
And then the second motion was brought up to be added to the agenda to accept the request for incorporated municipalities to allow the county to request assistance on their behalf. I think Mr. Pierce brought that up to add it to the agenda.
we already voted on it.
Okay, so you don't need to take
We
that.
voted on that
Okay.
when it came up.
Motion for adjournment has been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.